In the 1970s, 3 Oxford graduates turned British television upside down. The Goodies mixed slapstick, satire, and sheer insanity, and somehow created a masterpiece of controlled chaos. Fact 1.
Not so clever, are you?
The Goodies began in 1970 when Tim Brooke-Taylor, Graham Garden and Bill Oddie pitched a show that combined sketch comedy with narrative storytelling. Cambridge Circus and BBC Radio's I'm Sorry, I'll Read That Again. Their idea was simple and mad. They would be a team for hire. We do anything, anytime. Each episode became a mini-movie packed with stunts and visual gags. The BBC initially hesitated, fearing it was too expensive and too strange. But after a pilot episode, audiences loved its energy. Garden designed the scientific setups, Oddie wrote music and chaotic songs, and Brooke-Taylor added the posh innocence that anchored the madness. They formed a perfect triangle of personalities. The Goodies blended silent film comedy with modern satire. Their influences ranged from Laurel and Hardy to Spike Milligan. Within months, they had become BBC Two's unexpected ratings hit. Executives realised they'd accidentally approved television anarchy. The show's catchphrase, anything, anytime, was no joke. They meant it. It marked the birth of Britain's most inventive comedy experiment.
I've got this great new scheme for a pirate bus service, with bus stops all outside the 5-mile limit.
Fact 2.
My wife thinks I'm raving mad.
Why?
Because I eat spiders.
Behind every episode was a level of physical risk that would terrify today's producers. The Goodies performed nearly all their own stunts. Graham Garden once rode a motorbike through a lake wearing a giraffe costume. Bill Oddie was nearly knocked out by a giant kitten prop during the famous Kitten Kong episode. The BBC had no formal stunt department at the time. They learned timing by trial and error, and sometimes by bruises. Director Jim Franklin encouraged controlled chaos as long as no one went to hospital. Camera crews used special wide-angle lenses to make the action look faster than it was. Scenes often took weeks to rehearse because each gag was technically complex. The miniature sets for giant monsters and collapsing buildings were built by BBC visual effects teams who also worked on Doctor Who. Accidents were common. Props misfired, paint exploded, and costumes tore. Yet the cast's dedication made every episode feel alive. They weren't mocking action cinema, they were recreating it with cardboard and genius. That fearless energy defined the Goodies' magic.
The BBC have announced a cutback of 100%.
Fact 3. Bill Oddie's role went beyond acting. He composed and performed most of the show's music. His songs ranged from parody pop to psychedelic soundscapes. The Goodies released several novelty records that entered the UK charts. Funky Gibbon reached number 4 in 1975 and became a school assembly classic. Oddie's musical background gave the show a distinctive rhythm. Episodes used montages cut to music long before MTV existed. The soundtrack was recorded in BBC Maida Vale studios with session musicians from real rock bands. Each score was tailored to the plot's emotional arc, no matter how absurd. From Victorian ghosts to space missions, music became narration. Oddie's compositions also earned royalties that funded future Goodies projects. Their records proved that TV comedy could live on radio and in the charts. Critics now credit the Goodies with bridging pop and parody culture. They didn't just sing jokes, they turned melody into madness. That soundtrack still defines British comedy's most chaotic beat.
Goodies, goody, goody, yum, yum.
Fact 4.
Now for the latest report on Twinkle, the giant kitten, over to Michael Aspel.
The 1971 episode Kitten Kong became so popular that the BBC ordered a special expanded version for the 1972 Montreux Festival. It won the Silver Rose of Montreux, beating international competitors.
This is day 2 of Twinkle's occupation of the City of London.
The success proved the Goodies were not just cult heroes, they were global exports. But the episode's production nearly collapsed the BBC's budget for the month. The visual effects team used stop-motion models and miniature London sets. The cost was 10 times higher than a standard sitcom. Producers were warned never to spend that much again, yet the investment paid off in reputation and syndication. The episode was rebroadcast globally and became a template for later specials. Critics called it the moment British television discovered scale. It proved that comedy could look cinematic without losing humour. Even decades later, film schools study its miniature work as early model integration. The Goodies transformed budget limitations into imagination. Kitten Kong remains the show's defining monument to absurd ambition.
Michael Aspel, BBC, London.
Fact 5.
And I can subject him to pressures of up to 100 weight.
While most viewers saw the Goodies as pure slapstick, its writers were deeply political. Episodes mocked media propaganda, consumer culture, and bureaucracy. The pollution episode addressed environmental damage years before it was mainstream. The Commonwealth Games skewered nationalism with Olympic-level absurdity. Graham Garden, trained as a doctor, often slipped scientific satire into scripts. Their approach hid sharp commentary beneath chaos. Viewers laughed first and realised the message later. That balance kept the BBC censors comfortable. Writers called it smuggling sense inside stupidity. Academic critics later credited the show for linking surrealism with social awareness. It paved the way for satirical comedy like Not the 9 O'Clock News. What looked nonsensical was carefully constructed. Its legacy proved that laughter can carry critique. The Goodies weren't fools, they were philosophers in costumes. Their madness was methodical art.
Last time you cooked supper, eh? A bowl of cornflakes.
Fact 6.
You ever tried teaching 4 elephants to say, "Who's a pretty boy?"
By the mid-1970s, the Goodies were sold to PBS stations in the United States. American audiences loved the visual humour but struggled with British references. Some episodes were edited for pace and content. Scenes mocking religion or royalty were cut. Ironically, those cuts increased the show's cult appeal. Viewers sought uncensored imports on VHS. Censorship also highlighted how ahead of its time the series was. Its jokes about advertising and politics felt modern even decades later. The Goodies became Britain's most syndicated comedy outside the Monty Python brand. When BBC eventually dropped it, London Weekend Television picked it up for new seasons. That network transfer was rare for the era. It proved commercial TV valued it as much as public broadcasting. American comedians later cited the Goodies as inspiration for Saturday Night Live's short film segments. Even with cuts, its DNA crossed the Atlantic. Comedy madness had become export magic.
2, I get paid to write about trends, and if there weren't any new trends, I'd be out of a job. 3, there's a lot of loot in it.
Fact 7.
Castle supermarket and the Buckingham Palace cement factory.
The Goodies were among the first British comedians to become merchandise brands. Their cartoon portraits appeared on lunchboxes, annuals, and comic books. BBC publications released tie-in novels and a Goodies annual every Christmas. Bill Oddie approved each item personally to maintain quality. They even licensed a Goodies board game featuring miniature trikes. Fans lined up for signings at W.H. Smith stores across the UK. Their marketing strategy predated modern brand management. Revenue from merchandise funded bigger production budgets for later series. The BBC quickly noticed its commercial potential. Before Only Fools and Horses or Mr. Bean, the Goodies proved comedy could sell like pop music. Merchandising made them cultural icons, not just television stars. Children knew the characters before watching the show. This marketing model changed BBC policy on licensing forever. The Goodies turned their madness into a brand empire.
And there is the script I've written for you. It's called How to Make Babies by Doing Dirty Things.
Fact 8.
To myself, certainly was. Skateboard destruction kit.
Though overshadowed by Monty Python in press coverage, the Goodies earned serious academic attention later. Media studies programs analyze its editing and genre blending as pioneering. It combines sketch, sitcom, and silent film grammar into one format. Universities cite it as early postmodern television. Critics who once called it childish later apologized in retrospectives. The British Film Institute included it in its 100 greatest TV moments. Scholars wrote essays on its subversion of class and media hierarchies. It influenced directors from Edgar Wright to Taika Waititi. Their quick-cut editing owes debt to Goodies montages. When the BBC released remastered DVDs, sales exceeded expectations. Younger fans rediscovered the show as retro surrealism. What began as children's favourite became critical canon. Time proved the trio had invented a visual language still used today. The Goodies became the bridge between slapstick and smart comedy.
The world will end at 12 o'clock tonight.
A hoax.
This is not a hoax.
Fact 9.
Dear, this was a disgrace! You should have seen it before it was modernised.
Working together for over a decade tested the three men's friendship. Schedules were relentless. BBC commissioned 6 series in 7 years. Creative differences occasionally flared. Oddie preferred music, Garden wanted satire, and Brooke-Taylor favoured character comedy. Yet they always resolved conflicts through humour. Their bond was founded on mutual admiration from Cambridge days. Even after the show ended in 1982, they collaborated on radio specials and stage reunions. When Oddie became a wildlife presenter and Garden a radio panellist, they remained close. The BBC reunion special in 2005 proved their chemistry never faded. Tragedy struck when Brooke-Taylor passed away in 2020 from COVID-19 complications. Tributes poured in from across the world. Oddie and Garden called him our brother in chaos. Their decades-long friendship became as legendary as their comedy. They showed that madness built on loyalty could last a lifetime. The Goodies were never just a show, they were a bond.
Underneath, you're a savage little devil, you are you?
Fact 10.
I've got a 2 against. I can come in.
Today, the Goodies stand as proof that creativity thrives in chaos. Their blend of music, satire, and surrealism influenced generations of British television. Modern shows like The Mighty Boosh, Inside Number, 9, and Taskmaster carry their DNA. They redefined what television comedy could be, a visual adventure instead of just dialogue. Their refusal to follow rules became their greatest rule. The Goodies pioneered the idea that intelligence and absurd humour could coexist. They turned limitation into liberation, making cardboard sets feel cinematic. Even 50 years later, the show's energy feels modern. Fans still quote lines, replay stunts, and celebrate anniversaries online. The BBC's 50th anniversary tribute in 2020 confirmed its permanent mark on culture. No one ever replicated their blend of chaos and craft. The Goodies made television look easy when it was impossibly complex. Their madness didn't just entertain, it rewrote comedy itself.